Chapter 261. 3 days ago, at a place more than 10 miles away from the Chung family, the sacred Gu discovered a large underground cave which contained a blood pool several meters in size. The blood pool was already dry in one corner of the cave. A large number of corpses were piled up, worms crawled over many of the bodies. Clearly, the time of death was not long ago, likely within the past month. The blood demon did not kill people just to bleed them, it had constructed a blood pool to collect blood and refine essence. Evidently, the sharp decrease in the Cheng family's population was not solely caused by the blood demon. Many had fallen victim to the treachery of their own kin. Cheng Ruida's slaughter of his family members certainly had ulterior motives. Songwen did not wish to get involved in the affairs of the Cheng family, which was why he wanted to leave. Cheng Ruida glanced at Songwen and then at Zhuo Shuiyun. Are you both really not planning to stay a few more days in the Cheng family? No, thank you for your kindness, Songwen declined. Cheng Ruida's originally friendly expression turned somewhat sinister. It seems you've discovered something. I had wanted to discuss this with you too, but now it seems I must resort to a bit of force. Chung Han, why don't you reveal yourself? Cheng Ruida shouted violently. Suddenly, in the courtyard of the Chung family, a figure shot into the sky, swiftly flying towards them on a sword. Zhuo Shuiyun's face changed, looking somewhat grim. Cheng Ruida, what do you mean by this? Songwen also appeared surprised. The Cheng family actually had a hidden foundation building cultivator. Having stayed at the Chung family for a few days, he hadn't noticed a thing, which meant that the other party was hiding within a formation that could conceal their presence. However, the newcomer was only an initial stage foundation building cultivator, not enough to threaten Songwen. Cheng Ruida and Cheng Han surrounded Songwen and Zhuo Shuiyun from the front and back. Elder Zhuo, Elder Wu, don't be alarmed, I mean you no harm. I just wish to ask for your help in refining a type of elixir, Cheng Ruida said. Cheng Ruida was a mid-stage foundation-building cultivator, and with Cheng Han's assistance, he was confident he could keep the initial stage Songwen and Zhuo Shuiyun here. Cheng Ruida, think carefully, Elder Wu and I are both elders of the Beastmaster sect. If you dare to lay hands on us, the sect will not spare you or the Cheng family, Zhuo Shuiyun said with a fierce tone but a hint of trepidation. Cheng Ruida smiled faintly, clearly not taking Zhuo Shuiyun's threats to heart. Elder Zhuo has misunderstood. I truly have no ill intentions. As long as you assist me in refining the elixir and swear a soul oath not to disclose the matters of the Cheng family, once the task is completed, not only will I let you both leave safely, but I will also present each of you with 3,000 spirit stones as a reward. If you insist on opposing me, then I will have no choice but to be ruthless, even if the Beastmaster sect holds the Chung family accountable afterward. What does that have to do with you? You will already have returned to the underworld. Cheng Ruida brandished a whip in one hand and a sugar stick in the other, pressuring Songwen and Zhuo Shuiyun to comply. Refining elixirs? Zhuo Shuiyun said, somewhat skeptical. She looked at Songwen, waiting for him to make a decision. She realized that she had somewhat underestimated this low-key Elder Wu in the past, since Songwen could uncover Chung family's scheme. Perhaps he could make a more accurate choice. Songwen replied, Elder Zhuo, since the Chung family has sincerely invited us, let's lend them a helping hand. Zhuo Shuiyun looked at Songwen in surprise. She hadn't expected him to agree so readily. A glimmer of killing intent flashed in Songwen's eyes. He was quite satisfied with his days in the Beastmaster sect and did not want to stir up trouble. He had originally wanted to avoid the affairs of the Cheng family. However, since Cheng Ruida wanted to seek death, he could only play along and satisfy his own curiosity. What exactly was Cheng Ruida plotting by ruthlessly slaughtering his own kin? Cheng Ruida laughed heartily. Good. Those who know how to adapt are true heroes. Elder Wu is indeed wise to assess the situation. Please wait a moment. Once I subdue the blood demon, I will discuss the elixir with you in detail. After saying this, he gave Cheng Han a glance, signaling him to keep an eye on Songwen and Zhuo Shuiyun. Then, Cheng Ruida raised his hand and 7 sealing nails flew out. The barrier of the formation trapping the blood demons suddenly cracked open, a small opening at the top. The sealing nails shot through the opening like meteors, like the fangs of a poisonous snake. They swiftly and mercilessly pierced into the blood demon's body. The blood demon had its meridians sealed by the nails, unable to summon its internal spiritual power, and its breath instantly became weak as it fell to the ground helplessly. In its crimson eyes, despair and helplessness shone through. Cheng Ruida retracted the formation and threw out a chain. The chain twisted and changed shape like a spirit snake, tightly binding the blood demon. Cheng Rueda grabbed one end of the chain, pulling the blood demon to his side. Looking at the blood demon, its body a bloody mess yet still baring its teeth at him, Cheng Rueda spoke contemptuously, "You beast, you will never escape my grasp." Dragging the blood demon, Cheng Rueda approached Song Wen and Zhuoshuyun. "Please, esteemed elders." After saying this, he dragged the blood demon deeper into the Cheng family's premises. It was as if he were completely unconcerned that Song Wen and Zhuoshuyun would take the opportunity to escape. Song Wen followed suit, flying into the Cheng family's grounds. Zhuoshuyun glanced back at the direction they came from, then at the figures of Song Wen and Cheng Rueda, hesitating for a moment before ultimately deciding not to escape alone. Soon, the four arrived at the Cheng family's alchemy room. The alchemy room was constructed from large stones, comprising over 10 rooms for alchemy. Cheng Rueda held a square token and inserted it into the stone wall of one of the alchemy rooms. The stone door of the alchemy room opened. Once inside the alchemy room, Cheng Rueda inserted another token into the wall. A hole suddenly appeared on the floor of the alchemy room. "Please follow me." Cheng Rueda jumped into the hole first. Song Wen, who followed closely, did not act recklessly. As he approached the edge of the hole, a sacred goo slipped from the bottom of his shoe and fell into the hole. After the sacred goo confirmed that there was no danger ahead, Song Wen jumped into the hole. After falling for about several dozen meters, a vast underground cave came into view. The cave was adorned with a chi concealing formation, somewhat similar to Song Wen's chi concealment formation. It was also a second-grade formation, primarily designed to conceal one's presence, making it difficult for outsiders to notice anything within the cave. Having spent several days at the Cheng family, Song Wen realized he had not detected Cheng Han's presence. He could very well be hiding within this cave. At the center of the cave stood a tall alchemy furnace. 3 cushions surrounded the furnace. Once all 4 entered the cave, Cheng Rueda spoke. "I invited you here to assist me in refining a certain elixir. This alchemy process is extremely complicated and time-consuming. I find it difficult to sustain it alone." Then he tossed 2 jade slips which flew towards Song Wen and Zhuoshuyun. The slips contain the formula and the techniques for refining this elixir. "I originally planned to invite a senior alchemist and Cheng Han to assist me in the refining process. But I didn't expect that the sect would send 2 peak elders here, which is even better. Cheng Han won't be needed. He's not skilled in alchemy." Chapter 262. Zhuoshuyun took the flying jade slip and probed it with her spiritual sense. The contents of the jade slip were likely recorded by Cheng Rueda, concealing parts of the original formula. Even the name of the elixir had been omitted. After briefly scanning the contents of the jade slip, Zhuoshuyun glanced at Cheng Rueda with some trepidation. The unnamed formula recorded in the slip was extremely complex. Involving nearly 100 types of spiritual herbs, it was a complicated second-tier formula. Cheng Rueda was confident he could lead the refinement of the unnamed elixir, which indicated he was indeed a second-tier alchemist with considerable skill. Given his alchemical skills, it was impossible that he couldn't produce a second-tier demonic allurement powder. During the years the blood demon ravaged the Cheng family, Cheng Rueda sought help from the Beastmaster sect, inviting an alchemist to come to the Cheng family's aid. From the very beginning, this task was entirely part of Cheng Rueda's scheme. It was likely that the appearance of the blood demon was closely related to Cheng Rueda himself. Zhuoshuyun looked at Song Wen again, noticing that he remained calm and was carefully examining the contents of the jade slip. She found it increasingly difficult to see through Song Wen. Previously, she had looked down on this casual cultivator who joined the alchemy peak midway, but now, in the face of Cheng Rueda's threats, Song Wen appeared overly composed, as if he weren't the least bit worried that Cheng Rueda might later turn on him. Shaking off her complicated thoughts, Zhuoshuyun once again delved into the jade slip, beginning to examine it closely. This elixir was evidently some kind of sinister concoction containing numerous blood-related materials, including a significant amount of human blood. Cheng Rueda gave Song Wen and Zhuoshuyun a full day to comprehend the formula. 1 day later, Cheng Rueda, Song Wen, and Zhuoshuyun sat on 3 cushions surrounding the alchemy furnace. "This time, in refining the elixir, I hope both of you can give it your all. If there's even the slightest mistake, don't blame me for being ruthless," he said. Afterward, he turned to Cheng Han, who was standing guard nearby. "Cheng Han, you are responsible for protecting and monitoring them. If you notice any unusual behavior from them, kill them on the spot." In the face of Cheng Rueda's threat, Songwon showed no signs of fear and proactively urged, "Chung family head, let's start the refining. We wouldn't want things to drag on if the sect sees that Zhuo Shuiyun and I are slow to return. They might send someone to check on the Cheng family and you'll be the one regretting it." Cheng Rueda looked at Songwon with an unfriendly expression but didn't say anything more. Under Cheng Rueda's direction, the three began the alchemy process. Throughout the entire process, Cheng Rueda took complete control of the timing of when to add herbs. The intensity of the flames and the condensation of the liquid were all led by him. Songwon and Zhuo Shuiyun primarily served as laborers for the alchemy. Half a month later, a faint crisp sound emerged from the furnace, having expended a great deal of mental energy and spiritual power from the long hours of alchemy. Cheng Rueda's expression turned ecstatic. That was the sound of successful elixir condensation, the elixir dropping to the bottom of the furnace. Cheng Rueda raised his hand, opening the lid, and a pill the size of an egg fell into his palm. The pill emitted a faint bloody aura. Cheng Rueda held the crimson pill as if it were a rare treasure. "Ha ha. Heaven is helping me. I never thought that on my very first attempt I would successfully refine the blood puppet spirit pill." In his moment of triumph, Cheng Rueda directly revealed the name of the elixir. Zhuo Shuiyun and Songwon also looked exhausted. Upon hearing the name of the elixir, a glimmer of insight flashed in Songwon's eyes. With the name blood puppet spirit pill, along with the spiritual materials involved in the formula, he could roughly guess its effects. However, Zhuo Shuiyun didn't think too much about it. She said, "Chung family head, since the elixir has been successfully refined, we can leave now, right?" Cheng Rueda took out a jade box, placing the blood puppet spirit pill inside. His mood elated, he turned to look at the blood demon. The blood demon was sealed of its spiritual power and bound by chains, lying on the ground like a wrapped zongzi sticky rice dumpling. However, its lower body stood eerily upright. This beast has entered maturity, having consumed too much of the sun spirit herb's essence, causing its blood to surge and boil. Now is not the best time to let it consume the blood puppet spirit pill. I must find a way to quickly release its vitality. The longer the blood demon stays in its mature state, the higher its intelligence and the harder it will be to subdue. Cheng Rueda thought to himself. His gaze shifted to Zhuo Shuiyun. This woman was not bad-looking, her figure graceful, and she was a foundation establishment cultivator, able to endure the blood demon's antics. She would make a suitable candidate. Cheng Rueda's thoughts turned, and he had an idea. He waved his hand, and 2 piles of spirit stones flew out from his storage bag, heading towards Songwon and Zhuo Shuiyun. "This is the 3,000 spirit stones I promised you both. I hope you'll accept them. I apologize for any previous offenses. Please bear with me." Seeing the flying spirit stones, Zhuo Shuiyun was somewhat surprised. She hadn't expected Cheng Rueda to actually produce the promised spirit stones. Immediately, her wariness relaxed a bit. It seemed that leaving the Chung family safely today was no longer an issue. "Then thank you, Chung family head. My junior brother Wu and I will now swear an oath to never reveal anything we've heard or seen at the Chung family after we leave." After speaking, she shot a glance at Songwon, indicating that he should quickly swear the oath so they could leave the Chung family. "Wait." Cheng Rueda suddenly called out to Zhuo Shuiyun, "Elder Zhuo, I have another request that requires your assistance." Zhuo Shuiyun froze for a moment. Her heart, which had just begun to settle, tensed again. "What is it?" "This matter should not be known by a third party, so I ask Elder Wu to leave with Chung Han first, and then I will discuss it in detail with you, Elder Zhuo." A wave of unease surged in Zhuo Shuiyun's heart, and she resolutely refused. "No, junior brother Wu must stay here." Cheng Rueda replied, "Elder Zhuo, don't worry, I mean no harm. It's just that the matter I'm requesting can only be known to you. If I had malicious intent, why would I let junior brother Wu leave?" After speaking, he turned to Chung Han. "Chung Han, take junior brother Wu to the guest room to rest." "Yes." Chung Han replied. Chung Han turned to Songwon and said, "Junior brother Wu, please follow me." Songwon said to Zhuo Shuiyun, "Shiji, I'll wait for you outside." TL, Shiji's senior sister, Zhuo Shuiyun watched the departing figures of Songwon and Chung Han, feeling utterly powerless. With strength inferior to others, she could only be at their mercy. After Songwon and the others left the underground cave, she said, "Chung family head, you can tell me now, what exactly is it?" Cheng Rueda's lips moved, but no sound came out. Instead, he sent a voice transmission. After hearing it, Zhuo Shuiyun's anger immediately flared. "This is impossible. What do you think I am, Zhuo Shuiyun? Chung Rueda hurriedly tried to soothe her. Elder Zhua, don't be angry, just listen to my terms first. Zhua Shuiyun showed no signs of compromise, glaring at him with rage. No matter what the terms are, I will never agree. Cheng Rueda extended 5 fingers, 5,000 spirit stones. Once the matter is accomplished, I am willing to pay 5,000 spirit stones as a reward. Chapter 263. Zhua Shuiyun remained unmoved, still seething with anger. Cheng family head, you are insulting me, insulting the alchemy peak, and insulting the entire Beastmaster sect. 5,000 spirit stones, if Elder Zhua finds that insufficient, how about 10,000? Chung Rueda said, although I, Zhua Shuiyun, am not a paragon of virtue, I am not someone who can be bought so easily. Chung Rueda held up 2 fingers, continuing to raise the offer, 20,000 spirit stones. I possess a dual cultivation technique that can only be practiced by foundation establishment cultivators. With this technique, in just a day or 2, Elder Zhua could earn back these 20,000 spirit stones. A flicker of hesitation passed through Zhua Shuiyun's eyes. 1 or 2 days. 20,000 spirit stones, she turned to look at the blood demon. The blood demon was neither human nor beast. Its skin reddish, face resembling a nightmarish creature, sharp teeth and fangs, and its ugly form. A wave of disgust surged within Zhua Shuiyun. She shook her head in refusal. Absolutely impossible. 30,000 spirit stones. This is the highest price I can offer. If Elder Zhua still refuses, I can simply capture more mortals. Although it's more troublesome and time-consuming, it can still resolve this matter. Zhua Shuiyun did not immediately respond. She stared at the blood demon. Lost in thought, she didn't know what kind of scene was playing out in her mind. 30,000 spirit stones could buy 7 low-grade offensive spirit weapons, 3 mid-grade offensive spirit weapons, and 1,000 cultivation pills. Elder Zhua only needs to lie down on the ground to earn 30,000 spirit stones. Such an opportunity does not come often. Chung Rueda's words were like the seductive notes of a dark night flute, enticing Zhua Shuiyun to cross the line of reason and step into the abyss of depravity. This? Zhua Shuiyun hesitated. Finding it hard to make a decision, Chung Rueda smiled deviously. I'll give Elder Zhua 1 hour to think it over. Don't forget your current situation. Your and Elder Wu's lives are still in my hands. After saying this, he walked toward the cave exit. At that moment, an unexpected change occurred. The blood demon suddenly stood upright, its hind legs exerting force as it leaped toward Chung Rueda with all its might. Its claws glimmered with a chilling light, slicing through the air like a sword, aiming straight for Chung Rueda's chest. A flicker of panic flashed in Chung Rueda's eyes. He realized, to his shock, that the blood demon had somehow broken free from the ceiling nails and chains, escaping its confinement. He had been completely oblivious to it all. Instinctively, Chung Rueda retreated backward at the same time. A flying sword appeared before him, slashing toward the blood demon like lightning beside him. Zhua Shuiyun, seeing the blood demon suddenly break free and attack Chung Rueda, quickly reacted after a momentary daze, summoning her sword light and flying toward the cave exit. Just as she was about to rush out, she noticed a flying sword coming from outside, slicing down into the underground cave. Zhua Shuiyun's heart tightened. She thought this flying sword was driven by Chung Han, aiming to kill her. Just as she was about to activate her defensive spirit weapon, she saw the flying sword sweep past her, aimed at Chung Rueda behind her. Songwen followed behind Chung Han, emerging from the underground cave. The two flew on their swords and soon reached the guest room. Elder Wu, please rest in the guest room. The family head and elders should finish their discussion soon. Chung Han said. Thank you, Brother Chung. Songwen replied at the same time. Songwen estimated the distance from the guest room to the underground cave, about 400 meters. It exceeded the perception range of a mid-foundation establishment cultivator. Songwen spoke. Brother Chung, I wish to return to the sect immediately. May I? Chung Han stared at Songwen, a puzzled expression on his face. Elder Wu, aren't you waiting for Elder Zhua? Songwen replied. I imagine the Chung family head has a request that requires Elder Zhua's assistance. It may take a while to sort out. so I'll return to the sect and wait for Elders Wu. Chung Han said, Elder Wu, if you wish to leave, I certainly won't stop you. I will inform the family head to come and see you off. Song Wen chuckled awkwardly. There's no need to trouble the Chung family head. With a flip of his hand, Song Wen produced a cloth bag. The bag was about the size of a basin, bulging and heavy. Brother Chung, please accept this. Here are 100 mid-grade spirit stones as a token of my appreciation. I hope you can graciously accept them. Song Wen tossed the bag to Chung Han, who instinctively caught it but furrowed his brow slightly. He never expected that Song Wen would offer 100 mid-grade spirit stones as a bribe to leave the Chung family so quickly. After all, Chung Rueda had no intention of killing Song Wen or Zhou Shuiyun. There was no need for Song Wen to go to such lengths. Chung Rueda's reluctance to let Song Wen leave at this moment was merely to wait until matters settled before allowing him and Zhou Shuiyun to depart together. After all, Song Wen was leaving for the Beastmaster sect first. If the Beastmaster sect saw that Zhou Shuiyun had not returned, they might send someone to investigate. Capturing the blood demon would take an unknown amount of time, and if the Beastmaster sect arrived before it was fully subdued, it could lead to unnecessary complications. Chung Han said, Elder Wu, you truly misunderstand. The family head and I have no. Before he could finish his sentence, Song Wen suddenly sprang up, summoning a flying sword that slashed toward him. Chung Han's expression turned cold. Just a trivial skill. Chung Han's thoughts raced as he gripped a long sword in his hand. He was about to raise his sword to block Song Wen's flying sword when suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his left hand holding the bag. 2 black bugs bit through his flesh, burrowing into his palm and crawling up his veins toward his heart. Chung Han immediately fell into a state of panic. In an instant, he made a decision. He swung his right hand, slashing at his left arm with the sword. At the same time, he formed a protective shield of spiritual energy in front of him to block Song Wen's flying sword. The sword light passed, severing his left arm at the shoulder. Simultaneously, Song Wen's flying sword struck the spiritual shield. Bang! Chung Han was greatly startled as the spiritual shield didn't even hold for a moment before shattering. How could this be possible? The opponent was only at the initial stage of foundation establishment and a mere alchemist. Why was his flying sword so formidable? Before Chung Han could finish this thought, Song Wen's flying sword had already pierced his chest. At the same time, the 2 sacred beetles flew out from his severed left arm and burrowed into Chung Han's body through the wound, instantly consuming his internal organs. Chung Han didn't even have time to let out a cry before he lost his breath. Song Wen darted to Chung Han's side, grabbing his head and starting to perform a soul-searching technique. From Chung Han's memories, Song Wen learned the general situation. About 8 days ago, Chung Rueda had returned heavily injured from exploring ancient ruins. At that time, Chung Rueda was still the only Foundation establishment cultivator in the Chung family. His injuries caused great alarm among the Chung family, and they temporarily sealed off the family, cutting off all contact with the outside world. Chung Rueda entered seclusion to heal his injuries and only emerged after some time. After a period of recovery, Chung Rueda's injuries had fully healed. With the pillar of the Chung family recovered, everyone rejoiced. However, no one expected that Chung Rueda's return marked the beginning of the Chung family's nightmare. Chapter 264. Not long after Chung Rueda exited seclusion, some mortals in the Chung family fell ill with a strange disease, resulting in nearly 1,000 deaths in just a few hours. Chung Rueda informed the clan members that this was a highly contagious plague. The bodies of the deceased clan members had to be taken far away from the family's location to be burned and buried, to prevent the plague from spreading further. Although there were many unreasonable aspects to Chung Rueda's claims, no one dared to question or refute him, intimidated by his authority within the clan. All the bodies of the deceased were collected by Chung Rueda using his storage ring. As for how the bodies were disposed of, no one knew. After the bodies were taken away, the strange illness suddenly ceased. Half a month later, just as the Chung family members began to recover from their sorrow, the illness flared up once more, resulting in mass deaths among the clan. This time, over 3,000 people died, including several dozen early-stage qi refining cultivators. A huge panic erupted throughout the Cheng family. Various rumors spread. Some said the family had been cursed, while others claimed enemies had come to seek revenge. Many mortals in the Cheng family wished to move out to live elsewhere under the suppression led by Cheng Rueda and a group of cultivators. Such voices quickly vanished. In the following 2 or 3 days, the Cheng family did not experience any more large-scale deaths. However, the family was still far from peaceful, with clan members frequently going missing for no apparent reason. About 4 days ago, Cheng Han, who had already reached the completion stage of qi refining but struggled to break through to foundation establishment, received a precious foundation establishment pill from Cheng Rueda. Cheng Rueda granted this foundation establishment pill to Cheng Han with one condition. Cheng Han had to willingly open his consciousness and allow Cheng Rueda to plant a soul lock curse. From then on, his life would be controlled by Cheng Rueda, although reluctant, for the sake of breaking through to foundation establishment, gaining greater power and a longer lifespan. Cheng Han chose to submit. After Cheng Han successfully established his foundation, Cheng Rueda revealed to him the truth behind the deaths and disappearances in the Cheng family. It turned out that Cheng Rueda had obtained a secret technique in an ancient ruin, known as the blood curse technique. This was a vicious blood technique generally used against enemies with deep-seated grudges. When the caster used the blood curse technique on an enemy, the cursed person would lose their sanity, slaughter their own kin, and devour their flesh and blood. The more family members the cursed individual consumed, the stronger they would become. To cast the blood curse technique, one required the essence blood of the enemy's relatives as a medium. As the head of a family under the Beastmaster sect, Cheng Rueda had some knowledge of the beast taming arts. Upon acquiring the blood curse technique, he thought of another use for it. He decided to use the blood curse technique to rapidly cultivate a powerful spirit beast. Thus, he captured a qi refining stage 9 spirit monkey and, using the essence blood of his own clan members as a medium, cast the blood curse technique on the spirit monkey. Cheng Rueda attempted the technique 3 times in total. In the first attempt, he captured 5 ordinary clan members, killing them to extract their blood. However, the amount of essence blood was too little, leading to the failure of the blood curse technique. Cheng Rueda speculated that the differences between beasts and humans might account for the varying requirements of essence blood for casting the technique. He then proceeded to the second attempt. This time, he killed over 1,000 ordinary clan members. As he expected, with an ample supply of essence blood, the blood curse technique succeeded. However, not long after, the spirit monkey died inexplicably. It was as if the beast's body had rejected the blood curse technique, causing the technique to forcibly destroy the spirit monkey's body. Unwilling to give up, Cheng Rueda decided to make one final attempt. In the third attempt to cast the blood curse technique, he killed over 3,000 clan members. This time, the spell was exceptionally successful. Even the physical structure of the spirit monkey was completely transformed by the blood curse technique, turning it into the current form. A blood demon that was a hybrid of a monkey and a bat. The newly born blood demon wasn't particularly strong, possessing only the strength of a qi refining stage 9. To prevent the blood demon from being hunted down by unaware members of the Cheng family, Cheng Rueda fed the blood demon for 2 days. During this time, Cheng Rueda would feed it spirit stones, medicinal pills, and the blood of Cheng family members. After 2 days, the blood demon advanced to the foundation establishment stage. The blood demon began to hunt on its own. From then on, the difficulties faced by the Cheng family intensified. The blood demon rampaged, slaughtering Cheng family members, causing their numbers to dwindle rapidly. Once the blood demon advanced to the mid-foundation establishment stage, showing signs of maturity, Cheng Rueda knew he could no longer ignore it. He reported to the Beastmaster sect that there were demons causing chaos within the Cheng family and requested that they send an alchemist to assist in exterminating the demon. Most of the remaining cultivators in the Cheng family were aware of Cheng Rueda's actions in raising the blood demon, but the ordinary clan members were kept in the dark. Moreover, during the time the blood demon was wreaking havoc, many ordinary members of the Cheng family wanted to escape, but they were poisoned and controlled by Cheng Rueda. Those poisoned had to take an antidote every 5 days. Otherwise, they would endure unbearable itching. ultimately scratching themselves to death. Ned from Chung Han's memories. Chung Rueda had once promised Chung Song Wen Han that when the Chung family had recuperated and their population recovered, he would help Chung Han cultivate a blood demon as well. Chung Han had also studied the blood curse technique, which was noted to originate from the divine blood gate. After devouring Chung Han's essence, blood, and soul, Song Wen stored his body in his storage ring. At this moment, 3 sacred gu arrived, bringing along 3 individuals, 2 dead and 1 alive. These 3 had just witnessed the process of Song Wen slaying Chung Han. The 2 who died were Chung Wu and Chung Chi, who had been monitoring Song Wen. The one captured alive was Chiu Lu. "Senior Wu, please don't kill me," Chiu Lu said tremblingly. Song Wen wore a cold smirk. Miss Chiu Lu, the esteemed daughter of the Chung family, actually disguising herself as a servant, what a shame. Song Wen learned about Chiu Lu's identity from Cheng Han's memories. Chiu Lu had no spiritual root, rendering her incapable of cultivation, and her status in the Chung family should have been very low. However, coming from a family of cultivators and being the daughter of the family head, she was dissatisfied with the mundane life of a mortal and yearned for powerful abilities and a higher status. Unable to cultivate herself, she had to rely on powerful cultivators. Thus, Chiu Lu used her beauty as leverage, mingling among the cultivators of the Chung family and employing her clever mind to quickly secure a place for herself. She also became another means through which Chung Rueda controlled the cultivators of the Chung family. Upon having her identity exposed by Song Wen, Chiu Lu looked terrified. "Senior Wu, I can be your servant." Song Wen was too lazy to listen to her nonsense, using his spiritual power to wrap her up and fly toward the underground cave. In the ruins Chung Rueda visited, there were clues related to the divine blood gate. Song Wen was determined to obtain this segment of memory from Chung Rueda on the way to the underground cave. Song Wen effortlessly devoured the essence, blood, and souls of Chiu Lu and the 2 others, also storing their bodies away. Chapter 265. In the Chung family's alchemy chamber, underground cave, as Shuayun had just escaped from the cave's exit, she saw a flying sword slash toward Chung Rueda behind her. Immediately after, Song Wen's figure also appeared at the entrance of the underground cave. "Junior brother Wu, what are you doing?" Shuayun exclaimed. Chung Rueda raises blood demons using his own kin, extinguishing their humanity. Such actions are intolerable. He has taken a sect elder hostage to assist in refining evil pills, and his crimes deserve punishment. Now is the perfect time to kill him, Song Wen declared, appearing righteous and filled with a sense of justice. The blood demon's escape was facilitated by the sacred gu lurking in the underground cave, which had secretly pulled out the demon's sealing nails that restrained the blood demon. Shuayun looked shocked. It wasn't that she was surprised Chung Rueda had raised blood demons from his own kin. She had suspected this all along. Rather, she was astonished that Song Wen dared to act against Chung Rueda. "Where is Chung Han?" Shuayun asked urgently, while controlling the flying sword to assist the blood demon in attacking Chung Rueda. Song Wen replied, "Chung Han has been ambushed and killed by me." Chung Rueda's actions of raising blood demons were mentioned directly by Chung Han before his death. "Senior sisters, don't hesitate any longer. This is the best opportunity to eliminate Chung Rueda. Otherwise, if he defeats the blood demon and frees his hands, it will be difficult for both of us to escape death." Song Wen urged. Shuayun turned to look at Chung Rueda. The blood demon moved agilely, its form twisting and turning, appearing ghost-like and elusive. Although the blood demon was injured, its nimble movements, coupled with Song Wen's flying sword beside it, allowed it to harass Chung Rueda and barely hold him off. Chung Rueda had just directed the refining of a blood puppet spirit pill, which had consumed a significant amount of his spiritual power and mental energy. So he wasn't in peak condition at the moment. Moreover, due to the limited space of the underground cave, he couldn't create distance between himself and the blood demon and was forced to engage in close-quarters combat. This allowed the blood demon's strengths in close combat to shine with gritted teeth. Shuayun summoned her flying sword and charged at Chung Rueda, with 2 flying swords providing support. The blood demon felt like a fish in water, increasing its offensive capabilities. Chang Rueda, however, found himself in a difficult position, forced to defend. He knew he could not continue like this. Otherwise, he would be exhausted of spiritual power and lose. Holding his sword in his right hand, he cleaved at Zhuo Shuiyun's flying sword at the same time. He slightly shifted his body skillfully. Avoiding the blood demon's sharp claws, however, the blood energy unleashed from the claws still struck his left shoulder, leaving 3 deep wounds visible to the bone. Suddenly, a short dagger appeared in Chang Rueda's left hand, and as the blood demon brushed past him, he drove the dagger into the blood demon's waist. The dagger pierced into its body, and the fierce blade energy wreaked havoc within the blood demon. Its movements became erratic, its body losing control, and after a few yards, it crashed heavily to the ground. Chang Rueda paid the price of his injury to temporarily incapacitate the blood demon. Just then, Song Wen's flying sword struck. The flying sword shot forward like a venomous snake lurking in the shadows, piercing toward Chang Rueda's back. When he was unprepared, Chang Rueda was taken aback. Time was too short to activate a defensive spiritual barrier, so he could only channel his spiritual power to form a spiritual shield. Before the spiritual shield could fully coalesce, the flying sword suddenly accelerated. Not good. This person has concealed his true strength. This thought flashed through Chang Rueda's mind. Then he felt a sharp pain in his back. The flying sword pierced through his body and flew out in front of him. Carried by the force of the flying sword, Chang Rueda was thrown forward. Before he could hit the ground, Zhuo Shuiyun's flying sword struck again. The sword light flashed and vanished in an instant. Chang Rueda was decapitated by a single stroke. Song Wen leaped forward, landing beside Chang Rueda. At the same time, Zhuo Shuiyun's figure transformed into a remnant shadow and approached. However, she stopped beside the blood demon. Chang Rueda's short dagger was completely embedded in the blood demon's body, inflicting significant wounds, and it was already on the brink of death. Seeing Chang Rueda beheaded, the blood demon's crimson eyes revealed a gleam of vengeful satisfaction, akin to human emotions. It had been subjected to a blood curse by Chang Rueda, transforming it into a blood demon, and it had endured unimaginable suffering during the process. In the early days of becoming a blood demon, it was confused, and its actions were controlled by the blood curse, making it act almost like a puppet. Unable to resist, it chased after Chang's family members, devouring their corpses, all under the influence of the blood curse. Like a compulsive instinct, as it matured, its intelligence began to grow rapidly, gradually realizing that Chang Rueda was its greatest enemy. This was why, after escaping, it attacked Chang Rueda without hesitation. Zhuo Shuiyun sent a surge of spiritual power into the blood demon, helping it force out the short dagger and the residual blade energy inside. Then she took out 2 healing pills for spirit beasts and fed them to the blood demon, temporarily saving its life. She also collected the demon sealing nails that had fallen on the ground and pierced them back into the blood demon's body, re-imprisoning it. While Zhuo Shuiyun was capturing the blood demon, Song Wen had already inspected Chang Rueda's storage ring. He found a blood-colored token among its contents. This token was somewhat similar to the token for the Blood King's corpse. Refining method, but it appeared rougher and bore no inscriptions. Silently, Song Wen placed the blood token into his own storage ring. Zhuo Shuiyun turned around just in time to see Song Wen holding Chang Rueda's storage ring. Junior brother Wu. It seems we have a share, she said. Song Wen looked up, meeting Zhuo Shuiyun's gaze. What does senior sisters Wu think is the best way to distribute it? Naturally, we split it evenly. Song Wen's eyes scanned the blood demon. Zhuo Shuiyun had immediately tended to the blood demon. He could see through her intentions clearly. Chang Rueda had meticulously nurtured the blood demon at the cost of sacrificing tens of thousands of his kin, aiming to subdue it as his spirit beast. Now that Chang Rueda was dead and the blood demon heavily injured and captured, Zhuo Shuiyun would not miss this great opportunity. After all, she had no spirit beasts of her own. How should we allocate the blood demon? Song Wen asked. Zhuo Shuiyun's expression showed she was reluctant to part with anything. The blood demon and the blood puppet refining method belong to me. Everything else belongs to you, she stated. Song Wen smiled lightly. Then it shall be as senior sister says. He took the blood puppet refining method from his storage ring and tossed it to Zhuo Shuiyun. Then, he stored away Chung Rueda's corpse and turned to leave towards the exit once outside the cave. Songwon noticed that Zhuo Shuiyun hadn't followed but was collecting the concealment formation placed in the cave. Seizing the opportunity, he activated the soul-binding technique to trap Cheng Rueda's soul within his head. A moment later, Zhuo Shuiyun, carrying the blood demon, approached Songwon. The two mounted their swords and left the Chung family. Half an hour later, they arrived at a high mountain several hundred miles away from the Chung family. On a cliff, they temporarily opened two caves separated by several hundred meters. Each entering their respective cave. On the surface, it appeared that they were staying here to recuperate, restoring their spiritual power and mental energy. In reality, each had their own agenda. Songwon sought to interrogate Cheng Rueda's soul. Zhuo Shuiyun aimed to subdue the blood demon. Chapter 266. 1 hour later, Zhuo Shuiyun arrived outside Songwon's cave. Junior brother Wu, I need to disturb you for a moment. I have something to discuss. Songwon removed the formation and stepped out of the cave, asking, Is senior sister Zhuo preparing to set off back to the sect? Zhuo Shuiyun shook her head. I have gained some insights and have decided to enter seclusion here for a while. I came to inform you that if you're in a hurry to return to the sect, you can go back alone. Zhuo Shuiyun had just attempted to establish a spirit beast soul contract with the blood demon, but it had not gone smoothly. Even though the blood demon was severely injured, the soul contract still failed. This made her realize that subduing the blood demon was not so easy. Chung Rueda had gone to great lengths to refine the blood puppet spirit pill for a reason. She needed to weaken the blood demon's intelligence first by having it consume the blood puppet spirit pill to have any chance of successfully signing the soul contract. This task was not suitable for completion within the Beastmaster sect, thus she decided to subdue the blood demon before returning to the Beastmaster sect. Upon hearing this, Songwon furrowed his brow in thought. He had just conducted a soul search on Cheng Rueda. He learned that 8 years ago, Cheng Rueda discovered the location of an ancient site related to the blood curse technique. The ancient site was not far from here. Just about 1,000 miles away, the site contained clues about the divine blood gate, which was linked to the corpse king blood refining technique, and Songwon was interested in exploring it. I have some personal matters to attend to and do not plan to return to the sect immediately, Songwon replied. Zhuo Shuiyun's eyes lit up. How long do you need to handle your personal matters, junior brother Wu? Shortest would be half a month, longest a month, Songwon said casually. Then how about we meet here a month later and return to the sect together? Zhuo Shuiyun suggested, estimating that she would have enough time to subdue the blood demon in a month. Songwon nodded. All right, a month later, I will come here to find you, senior sister. After saying that, Songwon mounted his flying sword and soared into the air, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Zhuo Shuiyun watched his departing figure until it completely vanished into the horizon, then slowly withdrew her gaze. Her brows furrowed tightly as she pondered for a long time. Gradually, her expression became resolute. Zhuo Shuiyun flashed into the cave. 1 day later, in a valley surrounded by mountains, the spiritual energy here was thin and desolate, with neither cultivators nor ordinary people passing through. Not even a slightly powerful beast could be found. According to Chung Rueda's memories, the entrance to the ancient site was located within this valley. With a flash of sword light, Songwon descended to the valley floor. A deep cave, washed out by rainwater, appeared before him. The cave entrance was not large, about 3 feet wide, extending vertically downward, enveloped in darkness, although Cheng Rueda's memories indicated that there were no dangers. Inside the cave, Songwon did not recklessly enter. He sent his spiritual sense into the deep cave. The cave was deep, extending over 1,000 meters downward, leading to a spacious underground chamber. The chamber covered more than 100 acres. Crossed by a dark underground river, the river flowed rapidly, resembling a giant python slithering underground. The water churned, carrying mud and stones, occasionally swirling into vortices. With currents surging, 2 sacred goo fluttered there. Wings and flew into the deep cave. After confirming once again that the underground cave was safe, Songwon jumped in. Entering the underground cave, Songwon flew up to the top of a stone wall that rose 100 meters high, severely eroded and uneven. On the stone wall, there was a stone cavity about 10 feet square. Back then, Cheng Rueda and a friend discovered a skeletal remains in the stone cavity. The remains belonged to an unknown creature that had died countless years ago, yet the bones had not decayed or eroded. Cheng Rueda concluded that the creature's original body must have been incredibly strong, allowing its bones to withstand the ravages of time and remain intact after so many years. On the right-hand index finger of the skeleton was an ancient storage ring. Upon seeing the storage ring for the first time, Cheng Rueda was certain it contained ancient treasures, which led him to harbor malicious intentions and ambush his friend. However, he was gravely injured by his friend's desperate final strike before death. To Cheng Rueda's disappointment, the storage ring he obtained at the cost of his injuries contained no magical treasures or spiritual artifacts. Only a number of pills and spirit stones that had decayed into a pile of lifeless powder over the long passage of time. The only thing he could salvage was a token that recorded the blood curse technique. After thoroughly investigating the cave and the stone wall, Songwen found nothing of value. There were no exits like stone doors, nor did he find any hidden passages. Had it not been for the rainwater that eroded the cave entrance, this place would have been a completely enclosed space. This left him somewhat disappointed. Having traveled thousands of miles to this location, he had hoped to find clues about the Corpse King blood refining technique, only to end up empty-handed. The only area left that he had not explored was the Dark River. Just as Songwen was considering whether to stay or leave, the ground of the cave, piled high with countless fragments of stone, suddenly lit up with a blue glow. Songwen was taken aback and had no time to summon his flying sword before feeling a sudden vertigo. Then, the blue light vanished, and Songwen disappeared from the underground cave. In a place deep underground, there was a massive underground cavity. At the center of this cavity stood an ancient great hall. The great hall was constructed from countless giant stones, each filled with the marks of time. On the stone doors and walls of the hall were carved some ancient and bizarre patterns, which emitted a faint glow in the dim cave in front of the great hall. There was a plaza. Surrounding the plaza were 13 towering statues. These sculptures were humanoid, but they had wings growing from their backs, fangs in their mouths, and twisted, ferocious faces. Opposite the great hall, a waterfall cascaded from the ceiling of the cave, with roaring water creating a thunderous sound. Below the waterfall was a bottomless pool, the depths unknown, which swallowed all the water flowing down from above. On the plaza, 3 groups of people were tense and in a standoff. The largest group had 8 members, all dressed in matching blue garments, clearly from some cultivation family. The smallest group had only 4 members, donned in cassocks with shiny, shaved heads, indicating they were Buddhist cultivators. Another group consisted of several individuals with mixed clothing, identified as loose cultivators. Everyone present revealed their cultivation levels to be in the foundation establishment stage. On the ground, there were 2 corpses that had recently died, bright red blood flowing from the bodies and staining the stone floor crimson. The atmosphere on the plaza was heavy, yet none of the factions acted rashly. It was as if they feared disturbing the 13 statues guarding the ancient Great Hall. Chapter 267. Mirofa, you bald donkey. How dare you follow us secretly into the Blood Cloud Cave? The speaker was a tall member of a cultivation family. The person referred to as Mirofa was a short and stout monk, with his palms pressed together. The monk wore a compassionate expression of pity on his face. Tang Fu, this Blood Cloud Cave is a no-man's land. How can you say that we monks have sneaked in? Tang Fu shouted angrily. I went through great trouble with Alliance leader Zhong to reach this place. You bald donkeys are just tailing behind us, reaping the benefits for free. Facing Tang Fu's scolding, Mirofa remained calm and composed. Since ancient times, treasures have a virtue to reside with them. I have calculated that this place has a connection to our Buddha and should rightfully belong to the Buddhist family. Pa! Even a fool knows that this Blood Cloud Cave is a stronghold of demonic forces, which has nothing to do with your Buddhism. Not only did you sneak in, but you also ambushed and killed 2 of Alliance leader Zhong's subordinates, which activated the prohibitions here. Now, this Blood Cloud Cave can only be entered, not exited. The 13 stone statues also show signs of being activated. All because of you bald donkeys who speak of compassion but have wicked hearts. Tang Fu looked like he wanted to tear the other party to shreds, but due to the prohibitions in this area and the 13 stone statues in the plaza, he dared not act. If another person were to die in this plaza, It could likely trigger the activation of the statues. Miofa gazed at the two corpses on the ground, displaying a face full of sorrow. After leaving the temple, I will certainly chant the rebirth mantra 1,000 times for these two wronged individuals to help them reach paradise. Quickly, Tang Fu's eyes blazed with fury, like a roaring fire ready to burn Miofa to ashes. Everyone, let's stop arguing. Right now. We can only cooperate and cannot turn on each other. Spoke a loose cultivator. He was the leader of the loose cultivators mentioned by Tang Fu, Zhong Liang. A smile appeared on Miaofa's face. Zhong, you are absolutely right. However, Tang Fu was somewhat unwilling to cooperate with Miaofa and the others. Humph, who knows if these bald donkeys will stab us in the back again. Miaofa said, Tang, please rest assured, just now it was my oversight and I did not know that killing would trigger the prohibitions here. Now that I know, how could I dare to commit murder again? Moreover, in exploring ancient ruins, there's no guarantee that no one will die. Why must you dwell on it so much? This place has been abandoned for many years, yet the prohibitions still function normally, which is indeed unexpected. We should discuss how to enter this grand hall before us. Before Miofa could finish speaking, a blue light suddenly illuminated the plaza, causing everyone to squint their eyes. The crowd was a bit startled, but aside from the blue light, no other danger appeared. After a moment, the blue light dissipated, and a figure suddenly appeared at the entrance of the Great Hall, a teleportation array. Everyone in the plaza became vigilant, their gazes fixed on the figure at the entrance of the Great Hall. Who are you? Why have you come here? Tang Fu questioned sternly. The person was Songwon, who had been mysteriously teleported here. After a brief moment of shock, Songwon quickly regained his composure. He looked at Tang Fu with fear on his face and stammered, Senior, I am a loose cultivator. By chance, I discovered an ancient cave, and while exploring it, I don't know why the teleportation array in the cave suddenly activated, transporting me to this place. Tang Fu, Alliance leader Zhang, and Miofa exchanged glances, all showing an understanding expression. It seemed they had inadvertently triggered the prohibitions which activated the teleportation array in Songwen's cave and brought him here. Songwen was merely an unsuspecting loose cultivator who had been caught up in this place. Rumble. Inside the Great Hall, a loud noise suddenly erupted as the stone doors slowly opened. Zhong Liang, Miofa, and Tang Fu exchanged wary glances. They had put in great effort to come to this place, and their sole purpose was the treasures within the Great Hall. Now that they were trapped here, the only potential escape route was likely within this grand hall. Just a moment ago, the three parties were discussing cooperation, but now signs of imminent collapse began to appear. You, get out of the way. Don't block the entrance. Tang Fu, with his gaze fixed on the gradually opening stone doors, shouted loudly at Songwon, Understood, Senior. Songwon looked terrified and dared not delay for a moment, retreating to the edge of the plaza. As Songwon moved toward the edge of the plaza, a sudden pressure arose. The closer he got to the plaza's edge, the stronger the pressure became. He hadn't even reached the edge before the weight nearly made it impossible for him to stand. Gravitational prohibition. Songwen was alarmed. The gravitational prohibition was extremely strong, and with Songwen's current cultivation level and physical strength, he absolutely couldn't leave the confines of the plaza. When the stone doors of the Great Hall fully opened, each of the three factions sent a representative inside. A moment later, voices from the Great Hall indicated that it was safe and signaled for everyone to enter. Before long, only Songwen remained in the plaza, although there might be treasures. Inside the Great Hall, Songwen wasn't in a hurry to enter. He wanted to first survey the surroundings and confirm his current situation before deciding on his next move. He instinctively released his sacred goo but found that it fell to the ground. Spatial prohibition. Songwen was taken aback. He attempted to use his flying technique and sword control technique only to discover that he couldn't fly off the ground. He extended his spiritual sense only to find that it too was restricted. His spiritual sense could only explore within the plaza and could not extend beyond its boundaries, with a gravitational prohibition preventing him from leaving the plaza, a spatial prohibition hindering flight, and limited spiritual sense. He felt completely trapped. I really am stuck here. Even the substitute corpse technique can't help me escape. I wonder if the blood escape technique will work. Songwen thought to himself, Since his spiritual sense couldn't reach beyond the plaza, he had to rely on his eyes. He conjured a fireball in each hand and tossed them upward. As soon as the 2 fireballs left his hands, they plummeted straight to the ground, exploding in front of him. Feeling quite helpless, Songwon had hoped to observe his surroundings with the light of the fire. Even his spells were affected by the gravitational prohibition. He took out a glowstone the size of a wash basin, raised it above his head, and infused it with spiritual energy. Instantly, the glowstone emitted a brilliant light. With the light from the glowstone, Songwon managed to see the entirety of the Blood Cloud Cave. Directly in front of the Grand Hall, about 50 paces away, was a deep cave entrance from which Tang Fu and the others must have entered. Not far from the cave entrance was a waterfall cascading down. An idea sparked in Songwon's mind as he recalled a dark river he had seen earlier. He speculated that this might be the river's lower reaches. If he could swim upstream, perhaps he could find a way out. The 13 stone statues in the plaza glimmered with an eerie red glow in their eyes, as if they might spring to life at any moment. The 2 corpses on the ground had already turned into mummies. Their blood had long since disappeared, leaving only a dried stain on the ground. After thoroughly surveying the entire plaza, Songwon turned and headed into the Grand Hall. Chapter 268. The Great Hall was divided into the main hall, left and right side halls, and a back hall with numerous rooms inside. The cultivators from the Tang family and the scattered cultivators led by Zhang Liang searched each of the rooms. Tang Fu and Zhang Liang remained standing in the main hall without moving. Miaofa, accompanied by 3 monks, stood not far from Tang Fu, not participating in the search. After entering the Great Hall, he had used his spiritual sense to investigate. The entire hall was empty except for the walls and pillars, and there were no treasures to be found. Miaofa knew nothing about the Blood Cloud Cave. He had followed Tang Fu and Zhang Liang to gain entry. As for what treasures Tang Fu and the others were searching for deep inside the Blood Cloud Cave, he was unaware. Fortunately, he simply decided to wait and see, staying close to Tang Fu and Zhang Liang. A moment later, a cultivator approached Tang Fu. "Tang Si, have you found anything?" Tang Si replied, reporting to Elder, "There are no discoveries." Tang Fu's expression darkened as he said, "Continue searching." Another cultivator approached Zhang Liang to report. After hearing the report, Zhang Liang's expression was cold. He turned to Tang Fu and they exchanged glances, both shaking their heads. Neither side had made any discoveries. Seeing this, Miaofa smiled slightly. "Gentlemen, it seems you have not found the treasures you seek. Why not be honest and share what you're looking for? Perhaps we can find something together." Tang Fu turned and glared at Miaofa. "Miaofa, don't think you can take advantage of us. If it weren't for the prohibition against killing here, I would have long since wiped out you bald donkeys." A moment later, Songwon stepped into the Great Hall. He observed the Tang family cultivators and scattered cultivators searching around like headless flies, seemingly finding nothing. At this moment, Songwon did not wish to clash with them. So he simply found a corner to stand in, appearing to close his eyes and rest, while in reality his spiritual sense remained vigilant of his surroundings. Half an hour later, the Tang family cultivators and the scattered cultivators had searched the entire Great Hall multiple times, ultimately finding nothing useful, and finally gave up in frustration. They gathered in the main hall around Tang Fu and Zhang Liang. Tang Fu and Zhang Liang were communicating silently, discussing something unknown. Taking the opportunity, Songwon entered the left side hall. The left hall contained numerous rooms, over 100, but all were empty. Not even a single meditation mat could be found. Songwon climbed up a pillar to observe his surroundings from above, but found nothing. Returning to the ground, Songwon moved into the back hall and then to the right hall, again finding nothing. From the traces on the stone floor, it was clear that a long time ago someone had emptied the entire Great Hall. When Songwon returned to the main hall, it was already empty. Tang Fu and the others had moved outside to the plaza. Songwon also exited the Great Hall and found a spot near it, distancing himself from Tang Fu and the others, and sat down on the ground. Now he was trapped here along with Tang Fu and the others. He could only hope that Tang Fu and the others, who had a better understanding of this place, could unlock the restrictions here so they could leave. After several hours, Tang Fu and the others could neither find the treasures they sought nor think of a way to escape. Ultimately, their gaze fell upon the 13 stone statues in the plaza. Within the entire Blood Cloud Cave, only these 13 stone statues remained enigmatic, the red glow emanating From the eyes of the statues consistently gave the impression that they were alive. Such oddities in the statues caused everyone to instinctively keep their distance. Since they were trapped here, they could only place their hopes on the stone statues. Tang Fu glanced at Song Wen and signaled to one of his subordinates. This subordinate, a tall and strong man in the mid-stage Foundation establishment, got up and walked toward Song Wen. "Kid, get up and prepare to attack the stone statue." The man approached Song Wen about 10 feet away and ordered him in a commanding tone. This person was a body refinement cultivator, over 7 feet tall, and his imposing figure created an overwhelming sense of pressure. Due to the anti-flying restrictions in the plaza, spiritual energy could not be used for flight. At this moment, only a body refinement cultivator could exert their full strength. This was why Tang Fu chose him to force Song Wen into submission. As Song Wen stood up, he transformed from his earlier timid demeanor into one of icy resolve. "Get lost. You brat, are you seeking death?" The strong man's face showed anger as he clenched his iron fist and swung it down towards Song Wen. Feeling the chill, Song Wen's eyes flashed with killing intent. In his left hand, a small shield appeared, which expanded to the size of a basin in the wind. A phantom of a large snake surged from the shield, its mouth wide open, ready to bite the strong man. This shield, named the Turtle Snake Shield, was a mid-grade defensive artifact obtained from Shou when Song Wen first received the Turtle Snake Shield. He was only at the initial stage of Foundation establishment and couldn't unleash its true power. Since he had many life-saving methods, he had never used this treasure. After advancing to the mid-stage Foundation establishment with the long-aired skill, his spiritual energy was sufficient to control the Turtle Snake Shield, so he refined it for emergencies. The iron fist smashed into the phantom of the large snake. As the snake phantom was ethereal, the strong man's attack was greatly diminished, its momentum rapidly declining. Seizing the opportunity, Song Wen charged forward with his short spear. When the spear was less than an inch from the strong man's abdomen, it was suddenly grasped tightly by a large iron hand the size of a palm fan. Trying to use underhanded tactics, the strong man said disdainfully in a cold voice. He swung his head and launched ahead, but with the force of a mountain crashing into Song Wen's face. At that moment, a large amount of thunder surged from the short spear. The thunder rushed like a torrent, wildly crashing into the strong man. The strong man's body was instantly struck by the electric current, causing his body to stiffen. Taking advantage of this, the short spear broke free from the strong man's grasp and plunged into his abdomen. The strong man's eyes widened in terror and disbelief. "Stop!" Tang Fu, watching from the side, shouted loudly. The development had occurred too quickly, and without the ability to summon his flying sword to defend, he couldn't save the situation in time. "You can't kill." But how could Song Wen heed his words? The moment he decided to take action, he had no intention of letting the strong man survive. The thunder coursed through the short spear, invading the strong man's body and instantly shattering his internal organs. Following that, the strong man's body suddenly exploded into pieces, scattering everywhere. Thunder-type techniques are renowned for their rapid attacks and their ability to restrain dark and evil entities. Previously, when Song Wen used thunder-type techniques against opponents whose cultivation levels far surpassed his own, it seemed the thunder law was not particularly strong. However, when facing a cultivator of equal cultivation level, Song Wen had absorbed the thunder essence from within the Azure Bowl, and the thunder techniques he refined finally displayed their true power. Moreover, taking him by surprise, the strong man had little chance to resist and was easily killed. Chapter 269. Song Wen coldly looked at Tang Fu and the others. There were a total of 17 people on the opposing side, among which Tang Fu, Zheng Liang, and Miao Fei were all at the peak of Foundation establishment. Additionally, Miao Fei and his 3 companions were Buddhist cultivators, and their Buddhist techniques had a certain restraining effect on the silver corpses and ghost kings. Facing so many Foundation establishment cultivators, it would be difficult for Song Wen to fight and win, but he certainly had no problem defending himself. Tang Fu's expression was ferocious and his demeanor was filled with vigilance. His spiritual sense continuously scanned the 13 stone statues, fearing any sudden changes. "How dare you kill him? How dare you kill someone in this plaza?" Not only was Tang Fu panicked, but most of the others were as well. This made Song Wen feel somewhat puzzled, but he quickly realized the reason: killing was not allowed here. No wonder Tang Fu and the others did not attack him upon seeing a stranger abruptly intruding into the Blood Cloud Cave. With a serious expression, Songwen focused on the stone statues surrounding him. Crack. A slight sound of stone breaking echoed. Instantly, everyone's nerves were on edge. They saw a stone statue's finger twitch slightly, causing a piece of debris to fall from its joint. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of stones cracking continued to ring out. The eyes of the 13 stone statues glowed with a bloody light. Boom. One stone statue slowly raised its left foot and took a step forward. Boom, boom, boom. Soon, all the stone statues came to life. Initially, these statues moved slowly, like people who had been sitting for a long time and were stiff all over, but as time passed, they gradually became more agile. The stone statues lightly shook their wings behind them. Due to the anti-flying restrictions, they could not take off from the ground, yet they suddenly lunged forward, attacking the nearby cultivators. Bang! A cultivator holding a long sword slashed at the giant hand of a stone statue. The cultivator was knocked back several steps. In contrast, the stone statue only lost a few fragments from its palm and did not pause for a moment. Continuing to pounce toward the cultivator, Tang Fu's expression shifted from shock to joy. However, as all the stone statues left their original positions, one of the statues revealed a deep, bottomless entrance where it had been standing. This was the entrance to the treasure cave he had been searching for all along. Dodge the stone statues and enter the cave. Tang Fu shouted, leading the way toward the entrance. Although the stone statues were powerful and had robust bodies at that moment, they had just awakened and were slightly sluggish. Tang Fu maneuvered around 2 stone statues and was the first to leap into the deep cave. Following closely was Miao Fa, who jumped in with 3 monks. Next came Zhang Liang. Afterward, other cultivators from the Tang family and scattered cultivators followed suit, entering the deep cave one after another. Among them, Songwen was the farthest from the deep cave. He unleashed a massive amount of lightning, his figure moving like a bolt of lightning as he swiftly rushed toward the cave. In front of the cave entrance, a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator from the Tang family was preparing to jump in. Suddenly, a bolt of thunder struck from behind him. His expression changed, and he quickly activated his spiritual energy shield. The lightning hit the shield. The shield swayed but did not shatter, however. The immense impact caused his body to lose control, sending him flying forward just as he collided with the giant hand of a stone statue. Bang! The person was sent flying by a giant palm, crashing heavily to the ground not far away. This strike left him seriously injured, his body mangled and bloodied. Before he could get up, a massive foot came down. Boom! It stomped down, turning him into a bloody mess. Meanwhile, Songwen seized the opportunity and rushed into the deep cave. The cave descended sharply, seemingly endless. As soon as he entered the deep cave, Songwen realized that the anti-flying and gravity restrictions had disappeared. He did not rush down immediately, instead heading downward cautiously. He released his spiritual sense and found that the depth of the cave exceeded the range of his perception, within his sensing range. There were no traces of any cultivators. Those who had entered the deep cave before him had already vanished. Songwen unleashed the sacred goo, which began probing downwards. He guarded a few meters below the cave entrance, 3 long lightning spears hovering before him, ready to strike. After a few breaths, a figure of a Tang family cultivator appeared above the cave entrance. The 3 lightning spears shot forth like arrows released from a bow, aiming at the cave entrance. The Tang family cultivator's expression shifted as he hurriedly tried to dodge to the side, but the distance between them was too close, and in his urgency, he failed to evade completely. 2 of the spears pierced through him from below, and his flesh was instantly shredded into pieces. At this time, 4 people remained on the plaza witnessing the death of the Tang family cultivator. They dared not rush into the deep cave, and with nowhere to escape from the 13 stone statues, they ultimately met their end at the hands of the statues. The stone statues did not chase into the deep pit. Once there were no living people left in the plaza, they stopped in place, remaining motionless. Following the pit down several dozen meters, Songwen finally reached the ground. This was an underground river, with the water flowing rapidly, using the sacred goo which had come down earlier to scout. Songwen learned that Tang Fu and the others were moving downstream along the dark river. He concealed his aura and followed behind. After traveling forward for over 10 meters, A massive underground lake appeared before him. In the center of the lake stood a bare rocky island, on which an ancient stone hall towered. The stone hall was grand and majestic, nearly occupying the entire small island. The 10 individuals who had arrived here before Song had already entered the stone hall at the center of the lake. Inside the stone hall, intense waves of spiritual energy and sounds of battle could be heard. Song concealed his aura and hid among the scattered rocks beside the lake, not rushing into the lake's center at that moment. A sacred goo quietly infiltrated the stone hall at the lake's center. Inside the stone hall, dozens of withered corpses, skeletal and emaciated, were attacking Tang Fu and the others. These corpses appeared fragile, yet their bodies were indestructible. Their strength was comparable to mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivators, which left Tang Fu and the others struggling to cope. Even Tang Fu, at the peak of Foundation establishment, could only repel them, unable to destroy the corpses' physical forms. However, Miao Fa and the other 3 monks displayed considerable destructive power. Buddhist techniques had a strong restraining effect on the corpses. Miao Fa wielded a golden bowl that radiated golden light, illuminating the corpses. The corpses immediately seemed struck by lightning, the dense stench of decay rapidly evaporating from their bodies, and they let out mournful wails. In the center of the stone hall, there was a high platform with a 10-foot-long bronze corpse coffin placed upon it. The coffin was covered in patches of green patina, as if it had been sealed for many years without being opened. Its presence filled the entire stone hall with an ancient and desolate aura, evoking a sense of reverence. 4 even more powerful corpses stood motionless beside the coffin, showing no sign of moving even with the intrusion of Tang Fu and the others. After more than a moment, Tang Fu and the others joined forces to clear out the ordinary corpses. Of the more than 10 corpses, over half were dispatched by the 4 monks. Miao Fa, Zhang Liang, what do you plan to do next? Tang Fu asked, looking at the 4 corpses on the high platform. These 4 corpses were larger and more robust, their strength clearly far exceeding that of the previous corpses. Could you tell this poor monk what you were seeking? Miao Fa inquired. Chapter 270. Zhang Liang looked at Tang Fu, his eyes filled with questions. Considering that they needed to rely on Miao Fa and the others' Buddhist teachings to deal with the zombies, Tang Fu thought for a moment and nodded, indicating to Zhang Liang that he could explain their reason for coming here. Zhang Liang swallowed a recovery elixir, refining it as he spoke. The Loose Cultivator Alliance was a very loose organization, primarily aimed at helping scattered cultivators communicate and exchange cultivation experiences. Those who joined the Loose Cultivator Alliance were mostly weak cultivators without significant backgrounds or supporters. In the Loose Cultivator Alliance, there were no cultivators above the Golden Core stage. Zhang Liang was the leader of the alliance and also its highest-ranking cultivator. About a decade ago, a chi-refining early-stage cultivator from the alliance found an ancient jade slip in a small river. The jade slip recorded information about a force known as Blood Cloud Cave, detailing its past strength and glory as well as the process of its destruction, accompanied by a map to enter Blood Cloud Cave. After finding the jade slip, the Loose Cultivator believed that entering such an ancient secret realm as Blood Cloud Cave was beyond the reach of a mere chi-refining early-stage cultivator. Thus, he handed the jade slip over to the leader, Zhang Liang, in exchange for reward. Zhang Liang, who had been stuck at the peak of Foundation establishment for many years without finding the opportunity to break through, became greedy. After obtaining the jade slip, he wanted to find the chance to break through to the next stage from Blood Cloud Cave, so he began to study the jade slip carefully, trying to determine the location of Blood Cloud Cave. However, possibly due to the age of the jade slip, the recorded place names were vastly different from those in the current cultivation world. With just his and the Loose Cultivator Alliance's power, it was difficult to find the Blood Cloud Cave in the vast cultivation world. Thus, he sought help from his friend Tang Fu. The Tang family was a declining cultivation family decades ago after the last Golden Core elder of the family passed away. Although there were many Foundation establishment cultivators in the Tang family, they had never produced a new Golden Core powerhouse. Tang Fu, as the eldest elder of the Tang family, was the most powerful person in the family, also stuck at the peak of Foundation establishment for many years, the two quickly teamed up to begin examining ancient texts in search of the Blood Cloud Cave's location, although the Tang family had declined as a once prominent Golden Core cultivation family. Its foundation was deep and far beyond that of a loose cultivator like Zhang Liang. Among the ancient books collected by the Tang family, they found records about Blood Cloud Cave. Blood Cloud Cave was a demonic force from tens of thousands of years ago. Seemingly a subordinate force of the demonic leader at that time, for unknown reasons, it was later destroyed by the demonic leader. Even though they found the records of Blood Cloud Cave, tens of thousands of years had passed and the world had changed drastically. Locating the exact position of Blood Cloud Cave was not easy. After several more days of searching, Tang Fu and Zhang Liang finally found the location of Blood Cloud Cave. After hearing Zhang Liang's account, Miao Fa asked with some surprise, "So you don't know what treasures are actually here?" Tang Fu replied, "Blood Cloud Cave has been destroyed for tens of thousands of years. Even if there are some remaining spiritual herbs, they have probably long since lost their spiritual energy and turned to dust. Even ordinary spiritual artifacts can hardly withstand the erosion of tens of thousands of years. I'm afraid only some powerful ancient treasures can remain. We are not here for the powerful treasures, but because the Jade Slip records that there is a powerful cultivation method in Blood Cloud Cave that can help people break through cultivation bottlenecks. We want to seek this method to find the opportunity for advancement. The cultivation method is not inferior to other treasures. The three of us can fully cooperate, and after obtaining the method, we can share it among ourselves." Miao Fei asked, "Blood Cloud Cave is a demonic force. How can you be sure that a demonic cultivation method can help us break through?" Tang Fu replied, "Opportunities are often elusive. There are no certain rules." Miao Fei fell silent for a moment before saying, "All right, let's go with your plan." Tang Fu turned to Zhang Liang, Alliance leader Zhang, "What do you think?" "With the assistance of the 4 esteemed monks, dealing with those 4 bronze corpses will certainly be much easier," Zhang Liang replied enthusiastically, indicating his agreement for Miao Fa and the others to join. Zhang Liang had not mentioned a word about Miao Fa killing his 2 subordinates earlier in the square, as if it had never happened. Zhang Liang frowned and looked toward the entrance of the stone hall, puzzled. "We've been here for more than a quarter of an hour. Why haven't the others and that unexpectedly involved loose cultivator arrived yet?" Miao Fei replied, "They've probably all died at the hands of those 13 stone statues. The strength of the statues is already close to that of Golden Core cultivators. If they hadn't just revived and were moving slowly, and if we hadn't escaped quickly, we might not have made it out either." Tang Fu looked at the platform and frowned, asking, "Those 4 bronze corpses should be at the peak of Foundation establishment, comparable to the 3 of us, and their physical bodies are extraordinarily strong. They might be difficult to deal with. Why have they been staying on the platform, not attacking while we dealt with the other dry corpses?" Miao Fei responded, "There should be some kind of restriction keeping them from leaving the platform." Tang Fu's eyes brightened. "If that's the case, then haven't they become live targets for us to wear down? We should be able to kill them eventually." Miao Fei shook his head. "It probably won't be that simple. We'll only know by trying," Tang Fu said, and as soon as he finished speaking, he threw out a long whip. The whip was made of sections of black metal connected together. As Tang Fu channeled his spiritual power, the whip rapidly elongated, quickly reaching a length of 100 meters and began to wrap around one of the bronze corpses, Tang family's ultimate spiritual whip, the Flame Extreme Whip. Zhang Liang exclaimed in surprise. When the Flame Extreme Whip was just 3 feet away from the bronze corpse, a large amount of black corpse energy suddenly erupted from the 4 bronze corpses. The black corpse energy gathered in the air, forming a black light curtain that enveloped the entire platform. Bang! The tail of the whip, sharp and diamond-shaped like the head of a venomous snake, slammed against the light curtain with a tremendous noise. The light curtain remained completely unscathed. The Flame Extreme Whip was unable to retract. Miao Fei narrowed his eyes and said solemnly, "It seems these 4 bronze corpses have formed some kind of battle formation, making it difficult to break through." Tang Fu asked, "What should we do then, if we engage in close combat?" "Master Miao Fa, do you have confidence in defeating them?" Miao Fa replied, "If it were just 1 bronze corpse, we 4 monks could gather our strength to handle it. But if we face all 4 at the same time, it would be difficult for us to withstand." Zhong Liang said, "If we can find a way to lure them down from the platform one by one, the battle formation will break, and we can then attack." Tang Fu expressed concern. If the battle formation breaks, they probably won't continue to guard the platform. Facing 4 bronze corpses at once, we might suffer significant casualties. A hint of ruthlessness flashed in Zhong Liang's eyes. Then we have no choice but to take a gamble. But how can we lure the bronze corpses down from the platform? Tang Fu asked. Leave that to me. To Tang Fu and Miao Fa's surprise, Zhong Liang actively took on this most dangerous task. Zhong Liang said to Miao Fa, once I lure the bronze corpses off the platform, they will definitely pursue me relentlessly. At that time, I'll ask the 4 esteemed monks to help me intercept them. Miao Fa replied, of course, you can rest assured, Alliance Leader Zhong. Tang Fu chimed in from the side, Alliance Leader Zhong, don't worry. As long as you can lure out the bronze corpses, my Tang family will help you hold them back alongside the 4 masters. Zhong Liang clasped his fists. Then I will leave my safety in your hands.